here on Locked On Jaguars. Tough game last night. The Jags fall to the Saints 23-21, but it's not the score why everybody seems to be wondering what the heck is going on with this team. I'll tell you about it on today's episode of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is happening? What's going on, man? A lot here in Jacksonville. I tell you what, a lot's going through the minds of the people of this city. You know, so much stuff was promised in the offseason. An offseason of a lot of chatter, a lot of talking, a lot of mentioning of swag and speed and the best of the best. And so far, that's not what Jacksonville has gotten. We're going to talk about the impact of last night's loss to the Saints in the preseason. You know, it is what it is in terms of the preseason. The preseason is what it is, but there's some more stuff here at play, and we need to talk about it, and we need to discuss it because you always want to get off to a good start. Segment 2, I'm going to do I Told You So Tuesday about that offensive line, the one I've been talking about the last 2 years, saying that they needed at least 3 other starters on that team if they're going to be great, not just adequate. They're not even adequate at this point. We'll discuss that in segment 2. Segment 3, I'm going to talk about Urban's possible missteps in keeping Trent Baalke and also his possible missteps in the selection of his staff, particularly the one on offense. This might be a do-over. This whole year might end up being just a year where you just feel it out and sort of a throwaway year where he figures it out. But when you add this to last year, which was a throwaway year, that's 2. That's not good. So we'll discuss all of that stuff here today on Locked On Jaguars. I have to tell you first, the NFL season is about to begin, and you all know that, and nobody covers it like Locked On Podcast Network. August 30th through September 8th, Locked On's Ultimate Season Preview is taking you through every team, every division, with the help of Odyssey's lineup of NFL experts. Follow the Ultimate Season Preview 2021 feed on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts to tune in beginning August 30th. Make sure you do that. Last night's game, what did we see? We saw the offensive line not be able to control the line of scrimmage. Now, they were missing 3 starters. One wasn't playing. Cam Robinson just couldn't go because he tweaked his ankle the day before, according to Urban Meyer. But Brandon Linder and Andrew Norwell were both held out. Brandon Linder's a great player. Well, a very good player. Andrew Norwell leaves a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. But it's not just him. You have to look at the players that were on the field last night while Trevor Lawrence, your number 1 pick, was running for his life and getting sacked. And at one point, there were 3 Jaguars all piled up on top of each other on the ground while they were playing against backups from the other team. They played against backups against Cleveland in week 1, same thing. Guys all piled up on top of each other looking like they're playing Twister. Urban Meyer kept George Warhop and the entire offensive line intact when he basically just added Walker Little, who's not ready. I saw somebody actually tweet that Walker Little was better than Tony Boselli. Let's slow that down a little bit. The guy hasn't played football in 2 years, so we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But there's a lot that's going on with that offensive line, and none of it's good at this point. It just makes you wonder, what did you do? What did you do in the offseason? What was you had more salary cap space than anybody. The last 2 years were really good drafts as far as offensive linemen are concerned. And do not get me started on Mekhi Becton looking like a future Hall of Famer, while C.J. Henderson, albeit the most talented DB, isn't even starting right now for Jacksonville. I'm getting real. It's starting to feel like same old Jaguars. And what Urban is realizing is this: everybody lifts weights. Everybody has strength of performance. This is the NFL. Everybody has a program. Everybody. I mean, if he was really leaning on that to be the difference for him in this league, I think he's sadly mistaken. Everyone has speed. The Monday Night Crew said it. Urban said that it's like you're playing Alabama each week. And then Brian Greasy said, no, you're playing better than Alabama every week. What did you think was going to happen? And what did you think you were going to offer that these guys don't already do? Dennis Allen's a great defensive coordinator. Sean Payton, Hall of Fame coach. These guys are coaching circles around the Jaguars right now. Kevin Stefanski last week against Cleveland. And I know everybody's going to sit here and tell me that it's because Trevor's young and, you know, the offensive line, blah, 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 blah. Justin Herbert was young, and the offensive line in with the Chargers is one of the worst in the NFL. And look how he looked. And I know you're going to say, well, he has Keenan Allen. Yeah, that's one guy. And the running back, Austin Eckler, missed most of the season last year. Trust me, I know because I had him as my fantasy running back and he wasn't available. All right, so all of this excuse making is out of the window. The Jets were a bad team too. Zach Wilson's off to a good start. The plays are designed. The mistake might have been Darrell Bevell and Shoddy. Why do you want to look like Seattle offensively? Though Seattle was a defensive team. Yeah, Russell Wilson looks like Hall of Fame the last couple of years because they opened up the offense. But before that, there was an argument whether he was a Hall of Famer or not. They were a defensive team who ran the ball. Their identity was beast mode and the Legion of Boom. You get Trevor Lawrence, and that's what you come up with. But Justin Herbert can look great last year with one wide out and a bad offensive line. Who in their right mind would have thought that Justin Herbert, when he was at Oregon, would be a better pro or look like a better pro than Trevor Lawrence? It's because they're making him look that way. And you can tell it's not just me saying this. Urban agrees with me because he's shaking his head. He's looking down. He's shaking his head. Those are things that will be catastrophic to the success of this organization ever happening. Jimmy Johnson, Urban said Jimmy Johnson told him the most critical thing is to change your culture and build your staff. So far, the staff looks like a problem. And Trent Baalke might be part of it. Like I said, I'm going to hit that later on. But the impact of last night's game is folks around here now think that this is going to be a while. They also realize that this team needs a lot of stuff. They need a number one corner, which is why I said they got some good players at corner. The most talented guy is C.J. Henderson. If you're ever going to get somebody to be a number one, the kind of number one you need, he's it. But I don't know if you can pull it out of him. Shaq Griffin ain't a number one corner. Good player, solid. He ain't number one. Tyson Campbell can't find the ball. And I'm going to get on that a little bit later on too, because it's athletic profile. To think that Urban didn't like small corners is not true. Denzel Ward is little. He had him at Ohio State, recruited him. The kid ended up being a number one overall. I mean, like the number 4 overall pick. Whether it be Jack Rabbit or Joe Hayden, some of those guys, I don't know which one's Urban coach. I know he coached Hayden. Hayden wasn't a big guy. Taking Tyson Campbell over Asante Samuel Jr. might be a criminal offense as the way it looks now. Let's discuss it all. We ain't got no other choice. We got to go through it. This is what it is, man. I thought my days as a grief counselor were over. I guess not. But now it's just truth serum. And Urban knows it. He knows what he's up against. You can see the look on his face. And he realizes that he may have made a misstep or two. And everybody says, well, he's still learning. Yeah, well, you're going to learn today. That's for sure. You're going to learn today. This team is not very talented at all. But they've committed themselves to guys that are just people. They got a team full of look like C+, middle of the road, complimentary players. Where the great players at? They had all that cap space and all these high draft picks, and what do they have to show for it? Let's talk about it in the second segment here, coming up on Locked On Jaguars on a Tuesday. It is that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds and props contests, including, listen, online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest open now at BetOnline. Head to the website to use your mobile device and sign up today to receive a 100% welcome bonus. Be sure to take advantage of their day super promo, their opening day super promo. Now listen, make a bet on a Thursday, which is September 9th, between the Bucs and the Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25 for new customers only when you sign up using the promo code NFL100. Now, to take advantage of your 100% sign-up bonus, that promo code is locked on, okay? So BetOnline is your online sportsbook experts, man. Don't get caught sleeping. You need to get in on it right now. Running along and running it down, both here on a Tuesday. I'm gonna hit you with a little bit of I told you so. I told you so Tuesday. Maybe that's got a little catch to it. So maybe I'll start saying that more often, but I told you so Tuesday. I wish I was wrong more often when I say or make predictions about stuff that I think are not good for the Jaguars, because believe it or not, I want you to be happy more than I want to be right. But in this case, it looks like I was dead right. I think good NFL teams invest in their trenches. I think the games are won in the trenches. Now, when it comes to drafting, I always have this saying that you have to take what's there. Not necessarily what you need, but what's there, and hope that it slants towards what you need. The last 2 years were strong years for offensive linemen in this draft, in the last two drafts. This year was more interior, but last year there was a laundry list of corners. But then there was so much depth this year, according to even like Matt Nagy at the Senior Bowl. He talked about all the depth on the offensive line this year. The Jaguars sat at number 9 last year and took C.J. Henderson, who both Dave Caldwell and Trent Baalke liked. Ask them. Whether you guys want to believe it or not, Trent Baalke was the assistant GM last year, and he had a lot of say-so. Mekhi Becton and Tristan Wirfs were both on the board. They went 11 and 12, I believe, and the Jaguars picked 9th. The Jaguars took Ben Bartch from a small school project in the 4th round. This year, they took Walker Little, who hadn't played in 2 years, but had been a 5-star recruit and a big-time player and had been projected at some point to be a first-round pick. So that's 2 guys in 2 straight years where the draft was full of offensive linemen. But everybody kept telling me the offensive line was fine. If you want to be good, you can't just be fine. You have to be good or even great. The way you do it is in years where the draft is draft heavy on offensive linemen, and you just happen to have an entire pantry full of picks. Like 12, 13 last year, and I believe 9 or 10 this year. And you, even though you need everything, in a season, in 2 straight seasons where the offensive line is stacked in the draft, you take a guy in the 4th round and then you take a guy in the 2nd round. And it's not even a matter of the round you picked them in. It's just a matter of the sheer number of players that you had and you did not take them. Now, turn that contrast around. They used 4 picks last year on defensive backs. And then this year, they used 2 picks on defensive backs, I believe, 2 or 3, and then they signed 2 or 3 guys in free agency. That's a lot of resources for your back end, which still looks like it ain't fixed. And now you look like you need a number 1 corner, but it seems like you paid other people to be a number 1 corner when they're not. They played an offense last night that did not have Alvin Kamara or Mike Thomas. Think about it. Week 1, they played an offense that didn't have Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham Jr. playing. And they ain't been able to stop nobody yet. The significance of that is maybe some people believe you don't need a number one alpha corner a la Jalen Ramsey or Stephon Gilmore, which is fine if that's what you want to believe. But Marlon Humphrey in Baltimore, who Urban says they want to play like, is exactly what I just described. And then they went and got Marcus Peters. And you're going to play man-to-man the way Urban says you need to be able to play with the way they're going to play in the front, and the back end has to be able to play man-to-man. Then you probably need guys that can find the ball. I told you so. I told you if they were ever going to be, and I was always the dude that never, ever, ever wanted to take an offensive tackle or a guard in early in the first round. But at some point, I started to change when you realize how athletic the defensive linemen are. You want war daddies, you need war daddies up front. And I'm going to be deadly honest with you. I don't know if the Jaguars have two war daddies. And you can pick the two that you like. I'm sure people have said Robinson and Linda, and that's fine. But I don't think they have two guys that are championship caliber starters of the 9 offensive linemen, or at least of the 7 that they'll need to be able to make a deep run into the playoffs and to be champions. They don't. That's the reality. And you have a franchise quarterback that likes to throw the ball downfield, so you kind of need a little bit of extra protection. I told you so. But everybody likes to go for the little things that shine and have all of these catchphrases when at the end of the day, the bottom line is you need people that could knock people down and block on the front line, and they just don't have the dominant offensive line that they need. They do not. And you can't manufacture it. You can barely game plan around it. You can help a little bit. But with the route combinations I saw last night, they need as many people running wide open as they can get. And now there's this talk that, well, Trevor's young. And this is a learning year. And you guys got to be patient. I thought the fans were patient last year through 1-15 to get to this point. You know, 2 years is a long time out of people's lives, man. If we haven't learned anything since 2020 started, 2 years is a long time. You go in the military and sign up for a 4-year enlistment, 2 years is half your enlistment. By the time you finish that 3rd year and you're not going to stay, they're starting to out-process you and wind you out of there and rotate you out. You can't even get an assignment with less than a year and a half left. You got to stay at your base because they ain't going to move you. You know why? Because they know your time is almost up. 4 years was the amount of time that Gus Bradley was here. And for 4 years, everyone said, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait. And then we endured 2.5 years or 2.25 years of Doug Marrone after that, maybe even more than that. I think he took over at the end of 16 and he was here for 17, 18, 19. Yeah, 3 years of Doug Marrone. And people said, just wait, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. When y'all gonna stop doing that? I have seen the life get sucked out of this fan base in a matter of 3 weeks. And I'm dead serious. Because the prospects don't look good. It's like the things that are wrong, you can talk about being vanilla all you want and not having an identity. And by the way, you don't have an identity because it's your fault. You got 2 different quarterbacks with 2 different skill sets, and you're playing both of them in practice instead of working on an identity. And this is where all of that other stuff you do now, people start questioning it. In fact, let me push that to segment number 3 because I got a feeling we're going to stay there. We're going to cook that and get all that meat off that bone about that subject. We'll do it in segment 3 here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Jaguars after I tell you guys about Built Bar. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Built Bar is outstanding. They have 9 great flavors, 100% covered in chocolate, and they are the absolute truth. Go to BuiltBar.com right now and use the promo code LOCK15, and you're going to get 15% off of your next order of Built Bar. Now, my personal favorite for Built Bar is the salted caramel because I love the contrast between the salt and the caramel, and it just tastes so good. But there are 9 flavors for you to try, and you don't have to worry about it if you're on a diet. You know why? Because they're packed with protein, 17 and 18 grams respectively, depending on which bar you get, as well as low in calories, low in carbs, and low in sugar. That's right. So go to Built Bar and use the promo code LOCK15 and you'll get 15% off of your first order of Built Bars. Check them out at @bar_built on Twitter as well for all the latest news about Built Bar, the greatest protein bar on earth. Back with segment 3 here. I'm going to work through this as much as I can. Urban's biggest mistake, as I sort of mentioned in the first segment, may have been retaining Trent Baalke. And then the choices that he made with his staff, particularly the guys on offense, the coordinator and the quarterbacks coach. We just assumed that those things were not things that we had to worry about because they were names that we knew. But everyone's questioning now, and it looks like the archaic stuff that they're trying to do. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that they're trying to combine things that Urban wanted to do with the things that they want to do. And sometimes that's like it's like, say if you're a guy trying to lose weight and you see two of your friends and one lost weight on the South Beach diet and one lost weight with keto. And then you go, oh, okay, well, I'll try a little bit of both. Sometimes that doesn't work. Because there's certain things you have to eat with keto, and you can't eat, and then when you do, it just doesn't work that way. Dieting doesn't work that way. You can't blend two different diets and come up with a diet. Anybody that knows has tried to lose weight, like I always seem like I'm perpetually trying to lose weight, it means you can't do it. And offenses may be the same way. You can't get an identity on an offense when you're blending two different things together sometimes. So I'd rather just Urban just do what he wants to do, as opposed to learning and bending. He said the other day that the NFL offenses are more closely resemble college than they ever have. So why are you leaning so much on, no pun intended, but dinosaur NFL offensive coordinators to help you adjust to the NFL? You don't have to do that. You need to make them adjust to you. I'd rather Urban just do what he wants to do than to continue to watch his face look disgusted because things aren't going well. And then when he's asked if it's Trevor, he says, no, it's the coaches. I love the transparency, but once again, that's on you. That's on you. According to his own words, Jimmy Johnson told him one of the two most important things is building your staff. So if he's having a problem with his coaches, then that's an Urban problem. And that's a mistake that he made. And if Trent Baalke isn't, getting the right kind of players, and he's given Trent Baalke too much. And we thought about this now in the press conference when they both sat there. Baalke seemed like he had a lot of say in everything. At some point, Urban needs to give more Urban and less of everybody else if this thing is going to work. And everybody keeps talking about how young they are. They're still young. They're still young. They're still young. These can't be wasted years because you know what? 2 years from now, a lot of these guys that are under contract won't be here. So at what point do you start building your house and adding to the foundation as opposed to doing what they've done in the past? Keep changing the foundation every 2 or 3 years so you're always in rebuilding mode. It's just, I've never seen something go to, it dipped so quickly. I heard people looking at the draft for next year. They started talking about Kayvon Thibodeau and Derek Stingley already, and Evan Neal. I'm telling you, there were people on social media, Jaguar fans, already looking ahead to next year's draft and next year's free agency class. Commentators on TV saying Urban just doesn't have his guys. Just doesn't have his guys. They had more salary cap room than anybody this year. So tell me, what did they get? What did they get? With all that cap space, what did they get? Marvin Jones Jr. and Jihad Ward and Malcolm Brown look like the 3 best additions that they made to this team. Rashawn Jenkins has played okay too, I guess. Any of that stuff move the wheel for you, like in terms of when you have almost an unlimited source of money to go out and free? That's what you come up with. They actually look slower at wide receiver than they did last year when one of the goals was to add speed. I think there are mistakes being made here. I think there are errors and there are miscalculations about the importance of certain things, about the importance of being able to recruit people, about the importance of best of the best. And now you start to, when things start looking like this and the stuff that has to happen doesn't happen, now people are going to start saying, okay, we need a little less swag. We need a few less barbecue grills at practice. We need a few less videos, a little bit less slang on the social media content. We need to lead with blocking and tackling. We don't need to lead with all of the other stuff. We did that before. We did it with swimming pools and dog parks and scoreboards and Duvals. None of that stuff wins you football games. Blocking and tackling and executing wins football games. People are going to get sick of that other stuff if you can't do the basic stuff that you're supposed to do to win. All right. So we'll wait and see what they have to come out with and what they have to say for the rest of training camp. They're going to make some cuts. I'm going to give you a quick update on something. I heard Urban's presser after the game, or I read the transcripts from the presser. They have a plan for Philip Dorsett. Urban says they have to get him the ball. Urban seems to like Tavon Austin. Says Tavon Austin is an energizer bunny for him. Look for them to both make the team, along with Agnew, Chenault, Chark, and Marvin Jones. So there's 6 wide receivers. Maybe they keep Colin Johnson, maybe they don't. But he's giving you an idea of the guys that he likes. When you pick the player, subjectivity goes out of the window when you pick them. Especially if you picked them high, and then especially if you gave them big-time money in free agency. You basically saying that in and of itself tells the world what you think about them and what you expect from them. Now, you can leave the bottom of the roster open and all of that stuff. But in terms of this so-called quarterback competition, when you pick Trevor Lawrence #1 overall, you lost subjectivity. He's your guy. Because if he isn't your guy and the other guy, and he meant you ain't going to beat him out, but the bottom line is you can't take subjectivity out of it when you use the #1 overall pick on a player and guarantee him money, because you're just telling people that that's who you believe is the best, and you can't be wrong. You inherently can't be wrong when you make that choice. You can't be wrong about Tyson Campbell when you make that selection. You can't be wrong about Walker Little when you make that selection. You can't be wrong about Shaq Griffin when you sign him in free agency. You can't be wrong about Roy Robinson Harris when you sign him in free agency. You can't be wrong about Rashawn Jenkins when you sign him in free agency. Now, some of those other guys behind them, sure. Leave room. Tell the other kids who are trying to make the team, yep, surprise me. Show me what you got. And every now and then you'll get a James Robinson. But this idea that all subjectivity goes out of the window when you're building a roster is a fairy tale. You better make a subjective signing and a subjective draft pick when you pick somebody, because that means you're sure of who they are and you're staking your reputation on it. You don't get plausible deniability when you're the coach and the GM. Doesn't happen. Does not happen whatsoever. All right, man, I'm going to tell you about Locked On Bets. You need to make sure you tune in to Locked On Bets, the Locked On Bets podcast, hosted by your boy Q and expert Lee Sterling, because they're going to give you every single thing you need in order to be able to make the appropriate wager on their sponsor, betonline.ag. So make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Bets podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in to your boy Q and Lee Sterling. All right, man, this is a tough Tuesday. I wanted to be, a little bit better, but I'm really good at this kind of stuff. You know what? I'm not tooting my own horn because I had a lot of practice. So we're doing a little bit of grief counseling today, and we're trying to figure out, and we're trying to pinpoint some things and a lot of things about this organization that we thought had changed. It's still the same, and we got to figure out a way how we're going to get through it and figure it all out together. And hopefully Urban Meyer and that crew will get it by doing a little bit of self-examination and being honest. Tune in tomorrow. I'll be back on another day because it's your team every day. And did I remind you that Locked On Jaguars is free on all platforms? Yep, free on all platforms. I'm about charging you for content. Even YouTube, it's free. Until tomorrow, you guys take care of each other, man, and keep taking care of everybody. All right? Go Jags.